as Rahul Bajaj. So it's been there throughout that we have been in good human resource practices. So when this topic came up, I thought it was very relevant. And in today's scenario where everything is online, everything is on email, everything is on teaching on the website. So I thought maybe human resource practices are taking a back seat. But the backbone of any institution are the teachers, the administrative, and the non teaching staff. And I personally feel that as a manager or as a management person, it is my duty to give them proper security. Now, the security may be financial, it may be related to health or their family matters. So, when I'm in my office, I have to be concerned about all the right things about my people, about the people who are working for my institution. Now, before me is a very pertinent question right now is how many students do I get for the next session? It's very important to get students because that is how we collect our funds. And now, because of the COVID onslaught and because of the COVID unprecedented effect the COVID has on our society, it is going to be very difficult for parents to allot that particular amount of money for the education of the child. Earlier, we had no problems like this, but now, of course, we have to be very careful about the student well-being. I've been speaking to doctors, and social distancing is going to be the norm in the future. So what was a huddle classroom earlier would be a distance classroom now where we have proper spacing for our students. Now, as far as providing security to the employees goes, Shiksha Mandal as an institution has always taken full guarantee of responsibility of its own people. And of course, also of the society. We are a part of the society and we try to give back to the society of what we have earned as an educational institution. So as far as our long-term policy goes, we want to do the best for our students and also for our faculty. I invite all of you to share your valuable opinion on this topic. And I, on the behalf of Shiksha Mandal Jabalpur and GS Commerce College, with the Center for Management, congratulate you for joining today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your views on the topic as well as motivating us. Now, the topic is concerned with human resource practices, and that is concerned with higher education institutes. So in this topic, I would like to invite Dr. Manisha Shukla, ma'am. She is a chair, MDP and consultancy, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. I once again welcome from the Center for Management Studies, GS College of Commerce Economics, Jabalpur, Honorable Manisha ma'am. Please come and join with us and share your valuable thoughts and experience with us. Honorable Manisha Shukla ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ashish sir. Uh, at the outset, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Shubda ma'am and to Pahwa sir, to Ashish sir for giving me this opportunity to be part of CMS once again. CMS has been and will always be very close to my heart because that is where I started my career from. And this is not the only reason. There are very many things which I've learned from that place. And I'm really happy to give back to the students of CMS today and to be associated with the CMS once again. Thank you so much, Shubda ma'am, Power sir, and Ashish sir, for giving me this opportunity. And especially to speak on the topic that is very close to my heart again, human resource management. Now, when I'm talking about the topic that has been assigned today for this webinar, that has been decided today for this webinar, is human resource management during this COVID-19 crisis, impact of this COVID-19 on higher education institute and its HR practices. So to begin with, very interestingly, the topic, as the topic suggests, human resource, impact of COVID-19 on human resource. practices. So as the word suggests, human resource is full of energy, and nothing on this earth can make it really buckle down. So all the practices in higher education system are actually propelling the human resource to give their best and contribute for the development of their students. Now, when I talk about the HR practices, uh, the first thing that would actually decide the current and the future impact of COVID-19 or higher education system, or I must say the culture of the organization, or the support by the leadership. The support by the leadership would decide that how exactly this particular crisis is going to impact the human resource, the faculty and the staff of the organization. Now, as very beautifully as Shubhda ma'am has just mentioned that Shiksha Mandal always believes in taking care of its employees. So this was actually the line that speaks up volumes about the culture of the organization, and which talks about how concerned the organization is about the welfare of the employees. So number one thing that I would like to say is one of the factors that is going to impact is the role of leadership or the top management. If the top management considers the knowledge workers, the faculty, the staff as regular contributors, then maybe the impact is going to be not so good. But if they really consider them to be knowledge workers, a part of the team and part of the family, where they would if it's only they who are going to perform, then only the organization is going to grow, then the scenario is going to be absolutely positive. So as I just shared, number one is the role of leadership. To further talk about the culture of the organization, this is the time when people are talking about lockdown and everything. But if you talk about the beautiful term that has been coined by Dr. Uday Parikh and Dr. T.V. Rao, which talks about HRD climate, that is Octopace. Now, Octopace talks about openness, confrontation, trust, authenticity, proactiveness, autonomy, experimentation, and collaboration. Now, this is the right time to introduce this culture. Even if we are confined within our four walls, there should be an absolute open communication between the management and the staff and the faculty, which would decide what exactly the workers are feeling, what exactly the faculty are feeling, and what are the expectations. There should be confrontation. Confrontation, if that means if I am not comfortable with the practices, if I think that there's something more required, let there be an open communication. And something very, very important is trust. Now, why am I focusing more on trust right now? Because when we are here during lockdown, we are working from home. Now, working from home, there is no direct monitoring. It is this relationship of trust between the management, the faculty, and the staff, which is actually going to decide the productivity. How honest we are towards the 8 or 9 or 10 hours that has been decided for us to work from home, and how well we are contributing towards our work in those 8 to 9 hours, keeping in mind our limitations of like a work at home also. So trust is very, very important. So trust amongst the team members, since now we are working in isolation, so trust amongst the team members is also very important. Then we are talking about, if we are talking about proactiveness. Now, as Pava sir has very rightly said that we need to anticipate, we need to forecast that what exactly is going to happen in future. So if we like, it's beautifully said, and it's there in all the good books, that precaution is better than cure, and anticipating, being proactive to find out what exactly is going to be there in the future, and to prepare yourself as per the future scenario. things are not going to be same. That's for sure. It's not going to be same for at least some time, till the time things don't get okay. So proactiveness of the management and taking care of the employees, of the concern of the employees, is again one of the very important factors that need to be considered in the culture of the organization. And last but not the least is E of the octopus, that is experimentation. Now, this is the time that the management, the faculty, and the staff needs to experiment a lot. We were not prepared for this crisis. We didn't know exactly how things are going to, like this, that this is going to come up. And we are still not very sure that how things are going to unfold. So, but with some scenario planning, we can go ahead and we can experiment with newer teaching pedagogies. We can experiment with newer research methods. We can experiment with new knowledge series. We can experiment with new technology-driven academic environment. So experimentation is again one of the things which is going to really impact the human resource practices in higher education. Very interestingly, if I talk about impact of COVID-19 on HR practices, especially in higher education system, it's not only confined to higher education system, but it's for all organizations. And that we are talking about is the physical and mental health of employees. And when I say physical and mental health of employees, one of the major practices that is taking place there in the higher education is some of the organizations, they are going in for insurance of their employees, their medical insurance of their employee, assuring them that don't worry, we are there for you. Your security is there with us. And secondly, if you're talking about the mental health of the employees, the HR department per se, the leadership team per se, or the admin department per se, they're conducting a lot of amazing activities to take care of the mental health of the employees. So this, interestingly, is one of the very, very major things. Earlier, we did not know the softer side of the admin department, but now, since a lot of good initiatives, like I just happened to attend one of my entertainment evenings of my college, wherein we were asked to just relax and have a musical evening. So this was the softer side of a college, when they realized that the people there during the lockdown, they are working day long, they're taking care of the families and taking care of the work also. They're not allowing the work to suffer. So that is why they need time to relax in the evening. So that is why these initiatives are again one of the very interesting initiatives. One of the very important another aspect which needs to be taken care of, and which is definitely going to impact the HR practices, is work-life balance. Now, we have usually been thinking that people are sitting at home, they are just winding off their time, but it's not so. People were and are still committed to the institute where they are working. They are concerned about their students' future, and they're concerned about the pending work that is there and which requires to be completed. So in fact, there is more of an issue of work-life balance right now. So that is why work-life balance is again one issue which needs to be taken care of. Since I have got time constrained, I would quickly cover one or two more points, which I think would majorly impact and which is going to come up in a big, big way, is employee engagement. Now, at this point of time, when we are talking about when we used to physically meet each other, we could find out, we could make out that how engaged an employee is, how committed he is, how willing he is to give beyond his defined roles and responsibilities. But now it is little difficult when we are a little distant apart. So employee engagement surveys, employee engagement initiatives need to be taken care of in a big way to make the employees feel that yes, they are a very important asset of the organization. And when we're talking about employee engagement, one of the major things that, again, I would like to reiterate is to take care of the psychological, emotional, and physical health of the employees. Last but not the least, which this topic is inevitable in HR practices, the one that I'm going to speak on right now, is that is technology driven human resource practices. You must have seen that right now we are attending a webinar, which is again a technology driven initiative. So there'll be very many technology driven initiatives. One of them is, since we're working from home, so it's difficult to monitor. So that is why majority of the organizations are coming up with a very streamlined HRIS reporting system. Now, when we are talking about HRIS reporting system in higher education also, we need to log into our portal, we need to tell what is our plan for today, and at the end of the day, we need to report that what all has been completed and what all is pending and how are we going to complete it. So portals, HRIS in terms of reporting is going to come up in a big way as far as monitoring or uh, taking care of the performance of the employees is there. Secondly, when we are talking about technology driven initiatives, the second is training and development. I'll share my experience with you that when the lockdown, it started from 22nd of March. 22nd of March, it was announced that from Monday, 23rd March, the very serious lockdown is going to take place. The first phase of lockdown started. And that was the time when the classes were there and the completion of classes were there and the exams were there, were to be completed, evaluation was to be completed. Now we were at the middle of something very important, and then we had to withdraw ourselves. So how did we go about completing our courses? We went about completing our courses by taking online sessions. Now, not all faculty in higher education system are comfortable in using technology to deal with students and to involve students in education. And this is where the HR practice came into play, and where the HR department there in the higher education institutes, they started training their faculty, they started training their staff how to use technology and to be more productive. So like these, in keeping in mind the time that was given to me, 15 and 20 minutes, I tried to cover. But yes, there are some very concrete other aspects also which are left, as Ashish sir had mentioned about talent acquisition, about recruitment and selection. Recruitment and selection there in higher education department is still very uncertain. It would unfold as the time approaches, because the organizations, they still need to identify that whether the vacancies, the positions would be open or not, keeping in mind the workload that would be there. The compensations would be accordingly decided. But yes, there are some organizations, higher educational institutions, which are really taking care of the commitment which was shown by the organized, by their faculty and staff in the past, and they are rewarding it today by not slashing the salary. But then every organization has got its limitation, so we just need to keep the pace as per the situation. So HR would play a very important role, would continue playing a very important role. It would be more technology driven, and very interestingly, it would be more humane now, because yeah, like in educational institutes, especially, we are more collaborative in nature. So that is why we need to join hands and we need to take care of each other. And this is how we can take our institute ahead. I once again thank the entire team of GS College for giving me this wonderful time, this wonderful opportunity to speak to everyone. It was a really, really nice opportunity for me to address everybody. Thank you so much, Pava sir. Thank you so much, Shubda ma'am. Thank you so much, Ashish sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Ashish,
ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. You really raised the core areas and key points of human resource practices. And lastly, as you told that recruitment, selection, and termination, there are the three words which are generally the main core words of the HR practices. And unfortunately, we are looking the third one in practice from the employer side nowadays, that is implementing in the HR, and that is termination. So right now in the COVID-19 situation, the recruitment and selection is still in pending cases in all various organizations. But yeah, termination is also is going on. But it's a dark side of this phase. Definitely, we will overcome from this situation. And as Pava sir told that the physical existence and physical presence of the HR and the persons and the employees and the faculty and the students are much motivating rather than to the virtual presence. So of course we are being a teacher, we are agree with him. And thank you very much once again, ma'am, from the core of Center for Management Study, GS College, Jabalpur. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite Professor Sanjeev Bajaj, sir. He belongs to the Dean Institutional Development and Career Services from Sarla Birla Institute, Ranchi, Jharkhand. Once again, welcome you, sir, behalf of the CMS, and I invite you to share your views on this topic. Honorable Bajaj, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish. I thank the management of CMS GS College, Jabalpur for inviting me for this webinar. Though I may not be the right person as I do not represent the HR industry, but being a senior professional, I think I have been considered for this particular webinar. I thank the management for considering me. Just wanted to tell you that Jabalpur is very near to me, and I have a very old connection from Jabalpur dating back to 88, 89, when I used to go to Jabalpur to buy books in English medium. Otherwise, the books where I studied were not available. So that is the old connection I have. And after that, I have been visiting ZDAS for helping the team with placement and admission related things. So when I received this invitation to speak in this webinar from GS College, I thought I'll re-memorize my things. So I thank Mr. Pava for very setting the points very well and talking about the practices in the industry where the people are getting as low as 3,000 to as high as 2 lakh rupees. This speaks a lot about the HR practices in India or in the institution of higher education. I have a presentation to share, and I may sound a little critical. In my 28 years of experience, I have traveled across 9 states. I have worked in industry and I have worked in various educational institutions. And I have seen both sides of the practices where the HR practices, if we talk about, from very nice to very unfair. So I'll just share my presentation right now. Can it be enabled, Ashish? Hello. Can I get my screen shared? Okay, I think there is some issues with the screen sharing option. So I'm continuing with my without screen sharing. So when we talk about the current situation, so we haven't expected that this kind of situation will occur and the things will transform so fast. So okay, I'm the host now, so I can now.
Yes, sir, you can share the screen, sir. And
Right,
you're the host
right.
right
I'll
now.
just share. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think it is not allowing me to share the screen. Anyway, no problems. I'll continue with my presentation without the presentation. So COVID-19 has accelerated the transformation in the workplace, which we haven't expected. We were always saying that the things will change, but things will change so fast we haven't expected. And the way we work, study, we learn has transformed drastically. And the present generation has never expected this kind of anything in their entire lifetime. And especially in the workplace, we haven't expected this kind of changes will happen. But educational institutions have been very quick in adapting technology. As ma'am Manisha ma'am also said, that we moved to technological from physical classrooms to we moved to virtual classrooms within a week's time, and every educational institution in higher education practically now running on virtual classrooms. This technological shift has been very fast and rapid despite the technological constraints. Some people started with Zoom, some people started with even classes on WhatsApp groups, and people adopted to different technologies, right? And why we could move so fast to this technology? We may give some credit to the recent deployment of 4G technology and the push towards smartphones and all. So this was the reason we could move very fast for online education, and we are talking about HR practices. So as Manisha ma'am also said, and Shubha madam also pointed out that there are best practices which are followed by the GS College. So if we talk about best practices globally, then there are some things which I would like to mention in order to discuss. Things like workplace culture, employee benefit, diversity and inclusion, employee development, talent management, human resource innovation, leadership development, and talent acquisition. These are the few best practices which are adopted globally, and the organizations, be it a higher education institution or any other industry, they are ranked on the basis of the practices they follow in these criteria. Now, coming to the HR function in India in higher educations, I may sound a little critical, but to be honest, most of the higher education institution in India still do not have a well-organized and professionally managed HR function or department. They work from, there is a generally an HR admin professional who may be a kind of a bada babu, which we call, or maybe a supervisor kind of a thing, who works under the direct supervision of the principal's office or the registrar's office. He may not be a trained HR professional who is taking care of the HR practices in the organization, right? In private HR education, in private higher education institution, the HR function is generally reporting to the promoters directly, and they are guided by the promoters of the institution. I don't have actual data, but if I have to quote with my experience, hardly 5 to 7% of the institutions in India are managed by industrial houses like Jaipuria Institution, maybe like my university, which have a proper HR department where we have a trained HR professional who is taking care of the HR function, various HR activity. Now, if I go back to the parameters which we discussed about, first we take workplace culture. I haven't found in so many organizations I have worked in education institution the kind of workplace culture we develop for higher education. We have been, higher education institution have been treating the employees more like as they are required and they are doing their duty. So this one thing which COVID-19 can push is the change in workplace culture. Now we have moved from physical to online, which I think is a very temporary phenomena, maybe 2 months or 3 months, when the pandemic effect decreases and we go back to our physical classrooms. As Mr. Pahwa has said that we cannot deliver education in virtual mode forever. We have to have physical classes. We have to have education delivery in the one-to-one contact basis. Then only we can pass on the culture, we can pass on the values to the students. So this workplace culture would see a change on both the things. As initially said that as UGC have mentioned that the 25% content has to be online content. Now, I don't think that this creation of 25% content on online basis would, lead to decrease in manpower requirement, because even for creating that e-content, you need good faculty members, those who are acquainted. Yes, it may be required that you have to train the people, you have to, the employee has to relearn and unlearn and relearn because of the change in mode of delivery. The way I was delivering a financial management class in the chalkboard pattern has to be completely redesigned. So in order to remain effective in a virtual platform, I have to relearn, I have to unlearn many things and relearn. So the workplace culture will change. If I go to second point, there is employee benefit. I have started seeing, since I'm connected to so many educational professionals across the country, yes, the impact of COVID has started showing results. The salary cuts have been announced, which range from 20 to 30% for teaching staff and as high as 50% for non-teaching staff. Because non-teaching staff, which is working in laboratories, which is in the support functions like drivers, peons, and all these, they are found to be non-productive as of now. So when we are talking about best practices, educational institutions are have to think again. In many institutions, as I have seen that notices have already been issued in places like Bangalore, Chennai, and other education hubs like Hyderabad and Noida. The reason being, as Madam Shubha Pandey said, that there are uncertainties about the number of students they are going to get. Because all these major education hubs are dependent upon the places like Bihar, Jharkhand, many parts of West Bengal, Northeast, and Chhattisgarh to a great extent, where the educational infrastructure is not up to the mark. So these educational hubs are expecting that due to the effect of COVID and the change in mentality of the parents, this year there will be sharp decline in the number of students. And as I'm also taking care of the, I also advise on admissions. So people are receiving inquiries in the local institution also that can I shift from X college where I have done first year to your college. There is a change in, can I get the credit transfer in your institution because I want to be at home. So this is going to be another challenge in the for the academic institution. Serious drop in numbers even for the existing institution because the students are looking for credit transfer. And if the education institution agree, then this credit transfer is going to be again a challenge for many people. The third point, which is there, diversity and inclusion. So higher education institutions have always maintained diversity and inclusion because of the lack of committed resources available. A lot of emphasis has to be given on employee development because so far I have experienced that for employee development, the FDP and MDP are organized only to fulfill the UGC and AICTE requirement. In order to get the numbers that, okay, I have done 5 FDPs this year or I have done 4 MDPs this year, whether it is actually benefiting the employee or not is a serious issue. So this employee development part has to be taken care of very seriously. As Manisha ma'am said that the educational institution moved to training of the employees post lockdown. Yes, that was required because the classes have to continue. If classes will not continue, there will be a pressure on the institution to complete the curriculum and go for the exams, etc. Right now, the hiring is on hold in most of the institution because of the uncertainty about the future, about the number of institution, number of students we are going to get. I haven't seen any, one more point which was there in this best practices is the HR innovation. So far in my career of 27 years, I haven't seen any innovation or innovative practices being deployed in an institution of higher education. So management of these institutions have to seriously look into the innovative practices in human resource management in the education institution. Leadership development, yes, this is happening in the education institution because we see people getting promoted from the academicians to the deans and directors of the institution. So this leadership development skill not only for the leadership of the managing institute, but leadership in the time of crisis, so that the entire institution can move from X to Y and can change the entire scenario. Right? So this is how things are changing, and the practices have been adopted. Mr. Pahwa initially said that he would like to understand from me that how recruitment and training going to affect for the students. There is a serious challenge, and across the country, irrespective of the level of the institutions, there has been a serious problem for interns. The offers have been withdrawn because if you know the practices of the different management institutions, 90% of the offers come in the sales and business development profile for internship. Now, shifting to online for all these business development profiles is not possible. So there has been large scale withdrawal of offers for internship due to the crisis, this pandemic. As far as the offer letters are concerned, so far there is a small number of offer letters have been withdrawn across institution, be it IIM or be it a small institution in a remote place like Ranchi. The offers are withdrawn, but if this lockdown or if this situation of pandemic continues for another 2-3 months, the number of offer letters withdrawn would be much more high, much more higher than what it is right now. Because the small businesses which are seeing a very difficult situation would face a challenge of reviving or keeping themselves alive. So this is one thing which we have to be seen. So educational institutions have to, shift to better practices during this time, and they have to take care of their people. They have to take care of their human resources, be it academic staff or be it a non-academic staff. The challenges for the non-academic staff has been greater than the academic staff, because the managements in the institutions which are not professionally run, they feel that this non-academic staff is becoming a burden on them in present situation. So I'm very happy to learn that GS College and the trust or the society which manages the college takes care of its people so well, and it has not announced any pay cut or any termination or this kind of thing. It can be a model for education institution in India, and can be a leader in best practices in entire Madhya Pradesh, because best of the institutions are not following the practices. Thank you very much. That's all from my side. Thank you. Ankit sir, you can take over. Ashish sir, you can take over.
Thank you, sir. Sir, am I audible? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now we have the Bajaj sir has really the corporate exposure, and he deals with various organizations and HR practices. So what is the reality in ground nowadays? He really shared with us, and the 5 to 7% institutions which are handled by the professional HRs. It's really a dark reality of this organization कि इतने सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, लेकिन प्रोफेशनल्स एचआर की जो डिमांड है especially in higher education institutions, that is very less, and it should be increased. So thank you very much, sir. Now we have Professor Alok John, sir, and he is going to share his screen with us. Alok, sir, are you listening properly?
Yeah, I can listen.
So,
The only thing is, I would prefer speaking itself,
okay.
since I find it a little difficult, and I would like to
Oh.
go with the flow.
Pratik sir want to give you the host control. He has given you, and you
Okay.
can share the screen, and
Now I
after
can do
that,
that. Okay.
okay. And after completion of your portion, you can just
Sure.
transfer to your control authority to the Pratik sir.
Okay.
Sir, you can start, sir, your presentation.
Yeah, can you see this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am looking at screen.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Screen is
So-
looking on.
A very warm good afternoon to the August gathering here. My gratitude to the Honorable Principal, Dr. Sunil Pahwa, and Madam Subhadra Pandey, the Managing Secretary for Siksha Mandal, the entire faculty members of GS College, Jabalpur, Professor Ankit Khare, Dr. Ashish Mishra. My gratitude to all of you, and warm greetings from Patna Women's College.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to begin with from where Professor Bajaj has left. The question is, we are discussing that higher academic institutions, we should focus on why there is a lack of such highly qualified professionals in higher educations. Because what I understand with because I must first confess that I'm too small fry in front of the two respectable speakers today. But whatever little experience I gathered, I found that there is a hierarchical difference within the Indian academic system, Indian academic body is concerned. So if we are expecting an highly qualified HR graduate, I'm sure that it will be considered as a non-teaching personnel rather than a faculty member with certain qualifications as per the existing norms. So it is like this. In general, if we talk about any higher academic systems, standalone institutions, IIMs, if you see, so there is a big difference between the teaching faculty members and non-teaching. So that line of difference is where, that creates this difference. I should, this is also one of my observation, that even top IIMs also, non-teaching faculty, the staff members are not very competent enough. So it is kind of a pandemony that institution teaching management to others have failed to, teach their staff itself to manage themselves, or to work in a very proper or crisp definition in which they prepare their students to work in the other organizations. So this is one loophole or the bottom line where the institution should start functioning on. Capacity building to the faculty members, that they have to do it, that they cannot survive without doing it. But the capacity building of the non-teaching staff members, make them highly competent. And that kind of a culture has to be developed in which the coexistence has to be created. So that is one thing, as one of the HR practices institutions should now come up. In the West, of course, there are positions of research associates, there are positions of teaching associates, there may be positions of executive assistants to the directors. So we can just imagine, if we compare the kind of people working in the institutions of Indian institutions We can just compare the differences and see. So how will the quality or the output come if our staff members are not trained, if our staff members are not empowered? So that is one thing. Now coming to this point of where COVID situation has occurred. Can you see the PPT, sir? Hello? Hello? Yes. So now we have to focus on the emerging trends of higher education sector. So higher education in the Indian scenario has seen a tremendous growth. Nooks and corners, there are almost, if I see, there are 22 or 21 IIMs functioning. So across every 5 hours or 6 hours difference, there is an Indian Institute of Management, there is an Indian Institute of Technology. So that growth itself has been, that benchmark has been set by the government, followed by the private practitioners. So tremendous growth of institutions mushrooming here and there. So now the enterprise having a business and orientation, like the businesses have to work, the higher education also have to start functioning in a business model. They have to function as an enterprise function because the competition is fierce. Survival of the fittest is fierce. That is very important for private players. So if we talk about COVID scenario, this is once in a lifetime event, perhaps once in a century event that we have never faced before. And this sector of the economy that are most vulnerable and are going to be disruptive and that has never seen such disruption in the last 50 to 100 years. Of course, we have seen such kind of disruptive changes in healthcare sector, but education sector is such that has fundamentally never seen such kind of a disruption. It was always a chalk and duster position wherever it was. So we have taught the educated people the same way as we used to do it 100 years before.
Alok sir, if PPT is not visible, sir.
Your PPT, okay.
Yes.
Is it visible now?
No, sir, not right now.
So what is coming on the screen?
That is purely black, in which Alok Jan PVC has started screen sharing, is looking on that side. No slide is showing, sir.
Okay. All right. So in a way, I would like to go with the flow. It seems there may be a low bandwidth problem.
Okay, sir. No issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what I was talking was, we have taught the educated people same way as we used to do in very rudimentary system, 100 years of same process, same functions. So that has borne a very huge cost on the infrastructures, because we have paid less focus on the human capital and paid more focus on creating state-of-the-art world-class infrastructures. So these facilities, infrastructure facilities, dedicated faculty across functional lines, disciplines are missing. So, and all of a sudden, because of this COVID, we have seen one change that has risen in online education. So which, of course, many faculties have not dealt with. There is going to be a huge change in what the education is going to offer in the next decade, because the demand for certain disciplines is going to be, it should lose their existence, and demand for certain courses will give rise because of this global pandemic. It is going to be very important for the university and institutions to be more flexible and adaptable in the way they deploy their resources. So this COVID pandemic has brought a sea change, which we never experienced before, and hopefully we are never going to experience this again. So what it has exposed is the vulnerability that our academic institution is possessing right now. And that is an high operating leverages and lots of fixed assets, which of course down the lane, it will go wasted. So we look at any standard academic institution, what we see is lots of building coming up, parking spaces, administrative supports, residential complexes, dining halls, dorms. But do we really think that these are of any use at this present scenario where we are all locked down at our home? Yes, because we have now the focus has to be on developing the human capital. Alas, this infrastructures and the budgetary concerns that an institution possesses on their various infrastructures, human capital has very limited or a negligible amount of investments in it. So now the high time is that institutions should come up to develop its human capital, focus on investing on them. So in the last decade, academic institutions were responsible for higher educations with interesting challenges. It is in their search for strategies to rationalize costs and cope with budgetary constraints while overcoming competition from the increasing growth of privately owned and managed institutions of higher learning. Traditional state-administered institutions are rethinking the manner in which higher education could be organized, accredited, funded, and delivered. So now focusing on the upliftment of the faculty members, the higher education not focused on the empowering them through e-content. Very few faculty members are able to, conduct classes, organize webinars, organize conferences, academic council meetings. They are very, the fear of change is there in them. So I think a kind of sensitization has to be, given to them, and that can only happen when the management empowers them through various kinds of resources. It may be providing them with a laptop facility. It may be providing them with a data pack. Such kind of empowerment system has to be inculcated so that, staff, so the faculty members can adopt to this changing environment. Then, of course, faculty members should also be empowered to adopt to various government practices. There's something called Technical Education Quality Improvement Program. So institutions should, enable themselves to adopt these programs, which are offered by the AICTE SWAYAM courses. So it is, I think one data was, I was just going through one data that many institutions, like over 25 lakh of registrations have occurred in 60 countries availing the SWAYAM and other online learning platforms developed under the Digital India programs. So an institution can, as an HR practices for empowerment, ask their faculty members to undergo such kind of courses. The videos of Swayam Prabha DTH channel has been viewed for about 50,000 people every day. So such kind of things are, emerging because of this lockdown issue. The potential for e-learning and other technological advances could be gainfully exploited by the academic institutions to enhance both their research as well as richness of service delivery during this COVID pandemic. Yes, people will resist change, but we have to understand the need and importance of it. There was a situation which occurred to the teaching faculty here at Women's College. So the Indian education system, we had inculcated a sense of innovation, development. Now that every day we are having some webinar or the other, through which that also happens that if certain department has conducted that webinar very effectively, it's a kind of a competitive, sense of competition arises from other departments that they should also organize such kind of events and, gain that kind of goodwill. So such kind of activities usually empower the faculty members. Apart from that, I would also focus on certain news which of course was very encouraging. That one news came as a downsizing or whereby private institutions were following this practice that they were not paying their faculty members because of the lockdown, to an extent that the AICTE chairman had to issue a letter advisory that the institution should pay to the faculty members. The apex court, as Supreme Court, disposes a plea of private college students to get free relief, because ultimately they said that from where the colleges will give salary to its employees. So such kind of initiatives have been taken by the government. The private sector institutions have to, because government sector institutions are adopting this policy of salary payment, wage payment. Of course, it may differ from the state to state. But if you talk about the central government institutions, of course, those norms are there. But where this hindrance is because is hindrance of the private institutions, the private players. So they have to basically follow this goodwill, the sense of brotherly. We can call it as, you know, if we have we were doing a study on servant leadership. They can follow certain strategies of you know, das bhava, that bhav has to come. You know, if the faculty has served you, now it is a position, if that is a good opportunity for the institutions to give them in return. And there are other HR practices also that institutions should adopt. If a certain faculty member is ill during the COVID time, extend as many as support that you can do to the faculty member. Not only faculty members, HR also includes the students aspects as well. So my question is, if so many online classes are happening, there are students who are there in the bottom of pyramid, in the periphery. So we have to think about that, because getting data every day, it is a kind of you know, additional cost to their families. So academic institutions have to think on that front as well, because and the other day, as we are all competent, we can deliver courses online. But we have to think from the students' point of view also, especially those, you know, who come from rural sectors or who are from the periphery, to ensure that they have a laptop, they have a particular data. So of course, online teaching, like Honorable Principal Sir was saying, it has certain kinds of constraints. But as an HR practices, as an academic leader, the institutions have to come with their solutions to undertake such kind of problems which arises due to it. So, and thereafter, I think there are other things also, like inculcating the strategic leadership in terms of promoting e-governance to their various functions of the administration. And once they do, they also regain their, as per their accreditation systems, if they are going for NAC accreditations, they are going for NB accreditations, that also materializes. But in again, this is the right position to start with all kinds of best practices that an academic institution should adopt to. So with this, I would like to conclude my session deliberation. Ashish sir, over to you.
Thank you, Alok Jain sir. Thank you very much. And you have put up and include really the very relevant elements in your discussion, that the HR practices. It's a reality that we are paying a lot in constructing the infrastructural facilities in the higher education buildings and institutions, rather than to pay more on HR side. So that is the backbone of any organization, is the faculty and the human resource of that organization. So of course, as you told, that we should develop human capital as rather than to develop another capitals. Thank you very much, John sir. Thank you very much. Now, the thought of this webinar and the topic of this webinar, the Honorable Pahwa sir has given this particular topic, and definitely he belongs to, he known as a very well known teacher and professor of the accountancy and commerce stream, but he has a knowledge of all the disciplines, and like the management stream, HR, marketing, finance, and banking also. So once again, I request to Honorable Pahwa sir to please share their views on this topic, because I thought that something he could not cover in his brief discussion in the morning at the starting of this webinar. So it is my humble request to Honorable Dr. Pahwa sir to please share some views on this topic. Honorable Pahwa sir.
I, first of all, am extremely thankful to all the speakers, Manisha Shukla madam, Sanjeev Bajaj, and Alok John. They have rightly raised certain issues.
Hello.
With regard. Hello.
Sir, please
hello.
continue.
I am extremely thankful to Dr. Manisha Shukla, Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, and Mr. Alok John for sharing their views on various aspects of human resource management of higher education and what they perceive, what is the future going to be. What was my concern, what I perceived was slightly different from what I was expecting is that true that in times to come, we'll have to go in for virtual learning. We'll have to update our systems, not only the brick and cement infrastructure, we'll have to develop the IT infrastructure development. True. But at the same time, the kind of compulsions we are facing regarding online learning, I am worried about what will happen to my Ankit Khare or Ashish Mishra and others. If 25% of the learning is to be through online, and once I have uploaded my lecture on a YouTube or on my website or any other such channel, the students are free to view anytime. And for the remaining 75%, and that too with such low attendance in the colleges, what will happen to my teachers and my other staff which we have kept? Where will we get money for our teachers? And do you think that in times to come, we'll have to reduce our staff also by 25%? Because this is a challenge we are going to face in future. We have developed such a big infrastructure and we have appointed teachers, and if the students go in for online learning, despite that we pay our teachers, we'll have to, sorry to say that, we'll have to remove certain teachers and tell them, okay, sit at home and work from home. Because this is not the IT sector. And even in IT sector, because my daughter is also working with an IT sector, there are challenges from working from home. Else, this could have happened long back. The challenge is that the secrecy leak downs. And the same will happen with education, online education, etc. also. So there'll be a lot of challenges in years to come, that the infrastructure costs which we have built up has to be somehow or the other paid for. The teachers have to be paid for. Whatever I heard over a period of 2 months is there is a huge layoff in educational sector. The colleges have started saying that we do not have sufficient funds to pay you, and there is a layoff. In renowned colleges, some of the renowned colleges, the salaries have been slashed for these 2 months to the extent of 50%. I do not know the reasons, and I'm not challenging those reasons. But if this is the future of higher education, and if online classes are given a boon, and what people say that it is the need of the hour, then the future of human resource, at least in higher education, is definitely also at stake. So this was what I felt. However, let us see what the future is. We are only foreseeing this may not go in for a very long period of time. This corona vaccines may come out within 2, 3, 6 months, and as such we may go back to our original culture, but it is all to be seen, and we are all foreseeing. Thank you all, and I hand over to Ashish Mishra sir for an official Thanksgiving. Ashish sir.
Ji, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And I think it's a ground root reality that if, as Bajaj sir told, that it's a temporary phenomena, that within 3 to 4 months, the physical classroom learning teaching will definitely start. And in that phase, we must be able to perform ourselves as earlier we are doing that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Now, in today's webinar, Honorable the keynote speaker, Dr. Manisha Shukla ma'am, Professor Sanjeev Bajaj sir, and Professor Alok Jain sir. All the keynote speakers have really covered and touching the current issue of that HR practices in higher education institutions. As we are facing all the employer and employee relationship nowadays, and they have touched the topic is a very relevant way. Once again, behalf of the Center for Management Studies, GS College of Commerce and Economics, Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, I welcome you, and I'm very much thankful to all the keynote speakers, and I'm very much thankful to the Managing Secretary of the college, Dr. Srimati Subhra Ji Pandey, from CMS. She is also looking after the CMS, Center for Management Studies. I'm thankful to the Honorable Pava sir. He really motivated us, and the entire theme of this today's webinar is given by him. Thank you, Pava sir. And I am very much thankful to the core members of organizing committee, Dr. Sunil Deshpande sir, Dr. Ashok Banerjee, Sri Anurag Upadhyay, Sri Praveen Singh, Dr. Dimple Bhalla, Srimati Aditi Anis, Sri Bhatia, Dr. Ankit Khare, Dr. R.K. Patel, Sri Jayant Ranade, and Sri Abhishek Srivastav. I'm very much thankful to all the supporting team who really did well to conduct this event. And a very important announcement for the participants that they have to, a feedback form link will be shared in YouTube comment section, and your registered email ID, as well as in your Telegram group also. So you have to, after filling the feedback form, within 10 days, you will get your e-generated certificate. Once again, behalf of the GS College Center for Management Studies, I am very much thankful to all the participants over here, and the management of the college, and all the principal, and the keynote speaker of the today's webinar, Dr. Manisha Shukla ma'am, Professor Sanjeev Bajaj sir, and Dr. Alok John sir. Thank you very much once again.